what I learned from training and competing in my first ever Ironman. You are an Ironman. Man, was I so glad to hear those words. That's what I've been training for months. Training for an Ironman taught me a lot of things. And first and foremost, the first thing it taught me was that I know this is going to sound very cliche, but you can literally do whatever it is that you put your mind to. And I mean that 100% because never in my life did I ever think I could complete an Ironman. I had never done anything like it. Didn't have a background in swimming, didn't have a background in cycling, and I didn't have a background in long distance running at all. So it never crossed my mind to ever even do an Ironman, much less if I could actually complete it. But I did that and I crushed my goal. So my goal was 14 hours and I did it in 12 hours and 13 minutes. So I did it way faster than I thought I would. And I'm super, super proud of that. But yeah, as cliche as it sounds, you can do anything that you put your mind to, literally. You just got to put in the work. You got to train. You got to go through the ups, go through the downs. It's going to be hard. You're going to want to quit at times, but you can get through it. You just got to push yourself. And I really enjoyed this training journey because, like I mentioned, I never done anything like it. I never trained for like a really big goal like that. So it was super cool to set out a training plan, do it day by day, check the box. Hey, did I work out today? Did I do this? I literally followed the plan to a T. All that training I did for months led up to that one moment when you said you are an Ironman. And it was that one moment made all those months I trained, made it worth it. Because it's not really like race day is not the day that you're proud of. I mean, yeah, you're proud of doing the race, but race day is what makes you realize that you put in all the work. You've been disciplined for those months leading up to it. And that's what you're really proud of. You're proud of that whole journey, not just that one race day. Yeah, race day is awesome, but it's everything that went into training and preparing for the race day and completing the race. When it comes to Ironman training, you gotta think of it more of like a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're gonna have to be consistent. Consistency is key, especially when it comes to your training. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days. There's gonna be days when you're sore. There's gonna be days when you don't want to go work out early in the morning, but you just gotta do it. You gotta stick to the plan, and it'll all pay off in the end. I promise. Another thing it taught me is to listen to your body. When you're doing training, you're probably gonna be pushing yourself a little bit more than you're used to, or maybe more than you ever have in your life, because you're going to be training probably 6 to 7 days a week. So I specifically was training 7 days a week. Monday through Friday, I was doing 2-a-days. I would swim in the morning, go to work, and then after work, I would do either biking or running, whatever it was for that day, whatever my training plan called for. And then on Saturday, I did my long bike followed by a brick run. And then on Sunday, I did my long run. So I literally trained 7 days a week for like 6 months. So it's very, very important to listen to your body, focus on recovery, because you don't want to overdo it. And it's very easy to overdo it when you're training for an Ironman because you're doing so much volume. It's just a lot. It's going to take a toll on your body. So you got to take that importantly. If you feel hurt, if you feel like you're getting sick, if you're a little sore, hey, it may be smart to take a rest day or take it easier that day or do some rehab, do some stretching, icing, whatever you got to do to help recover the best that you can. Because if you're injured, then you can't race. You can't do it, period. So you got to take precaution. Listen to your body. That's a very, very important thing to remember when you're doing this type of training. Training for my Ironman also taught me that mental toughness is just as tough as physical toughness. So there's both aspects to it. You got to take in mental toughness and physical toughness. Yeah, you need to be physically fit, but honestly, in my opinion, I think you need to be more mentally tough than physically tough, because our bodies can go a lot harder and a lot further than you really think. But the reason your body stops is because you tell it to stop. You're mentally saying, I'm tired, I'm hurting, I'm sore, I want to quit. So that's why you stop. But your body can keep going. I promise. You just got to push past that limit. You got to be mentally tough. You got to know that, hey, this too shall pass. It's going to end. Push through it, and it's going to be worth it. Building my mental toughness during this training period, this block, was I come out leaps and bounds stronger than what I was before, because I woke up at 4 a.m., went and run for 4 hours, or rode my bike for 5 hours when that's the last thing I wanted to do. I did not want to do that. I literally would set my trainer up in my living room with my bike, and I would sit there and cycle for 4 or 5 hours at a time in my living room watching college football, and I just had to do it. I had to get it done, but I did not want to do it. Trust me, I didn't. But I was mentally tough enough to stick to my plan, to be consistent, and just to do it anyways, to get it done. I was waking up early on the weekends. I was waking up at like 4 a.m. Saturdays and Sundays, training back to back, tired, and you just had to be mentally tough. So yeah, you need to be physically tough because you're going to be putting a lot of miles on your body, but you're going to need to be just as, or if not more, mentally tough and strong than you are physically. So I would say probably 75% of the race is mental. The other 25% is physical, somewhere in there, percentage wise. But yeah, as long as you do the training, you'll be good physically. Now, throughout that training period, that's how you build your mental toughness, though, because you're going to be pushing yourself past your normal limits, which is going to build that confidence in yourself. It's going to confirm that, hey, I can do this. I can push myself, and you'll never actually like believe in that yourself or learn that for yourself until you do it. You have to do it. You have to show yourself that you can do it. You have to prove it to yourself, because if you don't, then you're not going to believe it. You're going to have that doubt. So challenge you, put yourself out there, do it, and you'll build that self-confidence. You'll build that mental toughness and resilience that you need. So when it comes to triathlons, everybody's always told there are 3 disciplines to a triathlon. You have swim, you have bike, and you have run. But what doing a actual Ironman or triathlon taught me is that there's actually 4 disciplines. You have swim, you have bike, you have run, and you have nutrition. So nutrition is that 4th key aspect, key discipline to doing an Ironman. Because if you don't have nutrition, you're not going to finish. It's just being for real. Like, you got to have nutrition. You got to provide your body with the nutrients, with the fuel that it needs. So you have to develop a nutrition plan, a nutrition strategy, not on race day, but during all your training. You got to start doing it now. Like, if you're training months out, you need to start practicing your strategy. Because one, everybody's stomachs are different. They can tolerate different foods. So you got to figure out what foods work for you, what foods don't work for you. You need to figure out how many carbs you need to be intaking. You need to figure out how many calories you need to intake. You need to figure out how much you sweat. If you're a heavy sweater, you're going to need to take in more carbs, more calories, more electrolytes. So that's something you got to figure out in training. So nutrition is huge. You got to practice it just as much as you practice swim, bike, and running. You got to, because if not, if it comes to race day and you don't know what to do, you're going to end up bonking in the race. You're not going to know what to eat, or you're going to have stomach problems. You're going to be in the porta potty, using the bathroom, or throwing up, and you don't want that to happen. So the 4th aspect of triathlons, Ironmans, is nutrition. And I learned that very quickly. Thankfully, I do not have a very weak stomach, so I can typically eat pretty much anything and it sit fine on my stomach. So I didn't have too much of an issue with nutrition. I did practice it, and I did play around with a few different types of foods. I try to stick to the foods that they're going to give you on the course. So ahead of time, they'll tell you what kind of foods they're going to supply for you. So I literally just bought what they were going to sell, what they were going to have in the race. And I use that during my training. So I know that, hey, when I got to the race, my stomach would be okay with these foods. Like I knew I could eat them and not have stomach problems, and they would sit on my stomach just fine. So I bought like the gels, all the bars that they had, the drinks that they were given, the fruits that they were given, things like that. So I prepare myself. And if you're doing a race, I highly, highly, highly recommend start practicing your nutrition plan now. Another thing that I learned during this prep was that community is huge when it comes to pretty much anything, but especially when you're training for something like an event, like a race, like an Ironman. Community is huge, because when I first started doing my training, I was doing all my training by myself, and I ain't gonna lie, it got very lonely very quickly. But somewhere around probably halfway through my training or so, I found a workout partner, a workout buddy. He had actually done the same Ironman that I did the year before. So we got to talking, ended up starting to train together, and that made a huge difference. It made a world of a difference. Because trust me, when you're out there on a bike by yourself for hours at a time, it gets very lonely. It gets very boring. You get very unmotivated. You don't want to do it. It's miserable, or it can be miserable. But if you have somebody there to talk to, one, it makes the time go by so much quicker, like so much. You'll sit there and talk, and before you know it, you're 2 hours in the ride, and you don't even realize it because y'all just been sitting there talking. And this is a crucial part of my training. Like, if I didn't have the 2 people that I trained with during Ironman prep, it would have made it so much harder and so much more lonely and not enjoyable. Now, don't get me wrong, I still did a lot of my rides and a lot of my runs by myself, but I did have them to train with sometimes, and that made a huge difference. It's having somebody there to train with you is huge. Also, having a support group, having people that are supporting you in your training, even if they're not actually training with you, but they're asking you about your training, trying to motivate you, trying to keep you going, making sure you're accountable, holding you accountable to your training plan. So this is probably going to be like your spouse or somebody holding you accountable. They can help you do any rehabs that you need to do, or make sure you're eating what you need to be eating. So having a little support group with you, that can help as well. And then also when it comes to the actual race, the community that's at the race, oh, it's unbelievable. It's huge. It made my race day experience so much better because everybody there is so friendly. They're nice. They're rooting you on. They're cheering you on. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you do well. So they're cheering. The vibe at the race was just awesome. It definitely is an energy boost for sure. The best part to me was coming back off the bike and starting the run because everybody lined up down the run. So when you started running, you had people cheering you on, rooting for you, and the energy was very, very high. And I fed off that very well. Like it gave me a kick in the butt, and I was ready to go for the marathon. Like it gave me such a boost of energy. It was next level. Like the camaraderie there, awesome. Because the bike got boring. I was on the bike for 6 hours. That was a long ride, and then I never really like rode with anybody. I would pass people or people would pass me, but you're basically out there by yourself the whole time. So the bike was miserable. I ain't gonna lie. That was the hardest part to me. And honestly, if you would ask me before the race, I would have said the bike was gonna be the easiest because you're just on a bike. Like I can ride a bike all day, but being out there for so long by yourself, it could get tough. So as soon as I got back in on the marathon and there was a bunch of people there, energy was high, I fed off that really well and it helped me out a lot. Like I don't know if I could have got through the marathon if it wasn't for all the people there. Everybody screaming and cheering. It was just a good time, a good race environment. So the community was huge. I love that aspect of it. That's probably my favorite thing about the whole Ironman, honestly, was just all the high spirits, the high energy, just the camaraderie going around. I really enjoy that part of it. Another thing that I learned during the Ironman is that I can swim, like really pretty good. Going into the Ironman, I had never swam laps in a pool ever. The only time I ever swam was just like in the pool in the backyard in like a small regular pool. Nah, the first time I ever got in a Olympic sized pool was training for this Ironman, and it absolutely terrified me. I was terrible at swimming. I could not swim in a 25-yard pool. I couldn't swim to one side. I couldn't swim all the way down without stopping when I first started. So this absolutely terrified me. So what did I do? I overtrained on the swimming by a lot because I didn't think I could do it. It's 2.4 miles that you swim. I didn't think I could do it. So what did I do? I swam 5 days a week. Literally Monday through Friday, I swam. And it took me a good like 3 months to really figure out the swim. But then it was like all of a sudden one day, about 3 months in, it clicked like that. I don't know what it was, but I finally figured out how to breathe. I finally figured out how to stay on top of the water. And it was like once that day hit, I feel like I could swim all day. I could. Now I kept swimming 5 days a week because I still didn't think I could do the swim, but I got a lot better at swimming really quick. And that's just because I practice and practice and practice. And eventually I got pretty good at it. I can't remember what the cutoff time is. I think the cutoff is 2 hours for the swim, maybe something like that. Maybe an hour and a half. I did the swim in an hour and 9 minutes. I can't remember how long this. I think it's 2 hours maybe. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I did my swim in an hour and 9 minutes. My goal was like an hour and a half. So I crushed the swim. I did really good. I was super proud with that. And honestly, I was terrified of getting that water. I mean, we swam straight off the beach and I was a little scared. But once you get in there with all the people around you, you don't worry about that no more. I also learned that a wetsuit helps you float. I did not know that. I had no clue. But yeah, I wore a wetsuit and it makes a huge difference. It actually keeps you up like on top of the water, keeps you flat. So a wetsuit, it made a huge difference. I liked having the wetsuit for sure. I didn't know that because I didn't know anything about swimming. I had no clue a wetsuit would help you out like that, but it does, just in case you didn't know. A wetsuit is made out of neoprene, and neoprene actually floats. So if I was just to throw my wetsuit in the water, it would literally float, like it would not sink. So it helps you float. I don't know, it's pretty cool technology they use, but I learned a lot of stuff about swimming. That's another thing. I never swam or biked or ran before, so I learned about each individual sport. I literally had to learn it from scratch. Like I had to learn how to swim from scratch. I had to learn how to bike. I mean, when I was a kid, I biked around the neighborhood like on a mountain bike. I never rode a road bike before. I had to learn how to ride a triathlon bike. I had to learn how to get in the little aero position. I had to learn how to stay on there for a long time. So I literally learned every single sport from scratch, and I had to learn how to run. Really, I always played sports growing up, so I ran short distances. I never ran longer than 3 miles ever in my life. That was the furthest I'd ever run before. So I had to teach myself how to do long distance running. Really had to teach myself how to stride right, things like that. I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to do all those sports, and I really learned a lot about each one. So that was a cool experience too. Just learning about each individual sport. I feel like that's something I can take with me forever, especially the swimming, because you never know if you're gonna be in a bad situation and you got to swim for a while. Because trust me, you can tire yourself out really quick in the water. But if you can learn how to swim, then you can go a pretty good ways. So if I ever get myself in a weird situation where I need to swim, I feel very confident about it now. If you'd asked me that before I did the Ironman, I probably would have drowned, if we're just being honest. Because when you're in the water, you kind of freak out a little bit. But now I'm a lot more comfortable in the water than I was before. Another thing that I learned in the Ironman is do or do not. There is no try. There's no try doing it. I told myself there's only two ways I'm coming off that course. It's across the finish line or it's in an ambulance. That's the only two ways I'm coming off the course. Like, I'm getting it done regardless. I'm going to complete it. I don't care what I got to do. I will crawl across that finish line if I have to. There is no quitting. There's no giving up. Like, I trained for it. I did what I had to do. So I'm going to go out there and execute. I'm going to get it done. I was willing to do whatever I had to do, no matter how bad it sucked, no matter how bad it hurt, or anything like that. Fortunately, for my first one, I didn't really have to deal with anything like super crazy or super bad that happened during the race. I know those things can happen sometimes, and I was lucky that that didn't happen to me in this race. But during the race, I learned that one little moment of pain, that's worth a lifetime of glory. Like, yeah, I was sore. My legs were hurting. My feet were hurting. I got blisters in the marathon pretty bad. But I didn't even care. Like, yeah, it hurt while I was doing it, but I knew I was going to finish. I knew it was all worth it. Going to be worth it in the end. So I just kept going. I kept pushing. I wasn't going to let a little blister stop me. I wasn't going to let my legs being sore stop me. I had practiced. I had done all the training. I did pretty well sticking with my nutrition plan. So I feel like I was pretty good on fuel. I was good to go there. I wasn't dehydrated or anything like that. So I would just push through that little bit of pain. And when I crossed that finish line, it was all worth it. Another big thing that I learned during my training for the Ironman was just to celebrate every moment, whether big or small. Celebrate it, because that's one step closer to your goal. That's a little bit better than you were yesterday. There was times when I questioned myself, like, why am I doing this? Why did I sign up for a race that I've never done before? Why would I push myself like this? Am I making any progress? Am I making any strides? For a long time, I was swimming 5 days a week and literally wasn't seeing much progress at all. Doubting myself that I could even do the race during my training. Why am I doing the race? Like, how is this going to benefit me in my life? How is this going to make me better? Well, I didn't learn it. I didn't realize it then during my training, but after my training, I realized a lot. Like, it made me better in so many different ways. Mentally, physically, everything. It made me more disciplined. It allowed me to enjoy life, like all the little moments that comes with it. It taught me how to prepare for something and attack it. It taught me how to give something 100% effort and go all in and achieve that. Because even if I didn't achieve it, even if I did fail and I didn't finish, it still would have been worth it, because I trained, I was disciplined, I did everything I could do to complete the race. It just didn't work out for me at that time. And if that's the case, then I'm going to keep going, I'm going to push, and I'm going to do it again. I discovered, like, throughout the journey, I discovered breakthroughs with my diet. I discovered breakthroughs with my training. I went through highs and I went through lows. There was days I wanted to quit. There was days that I felt good and enjoyed my long runs. When you're out there for a while, you kind of get that runner's high. And those runs can be enjoyable, and they're pretty fun. They actually kind of made me like running. Like, I enjoy running. I'm actually about to do a 100-mile ultra marathon. That's my next goal. That's what I'm training for next. So yeah, now I consider myself a runner, or more like a hybrid athlete, because now I'm weight training and running right now. It created new hobbies in my life. Like now I enjoy doing these things. I actually find myself getting in the pool at my gym now just for cardio, just for exercise when I never had before. I ride the spin bike all the time now because I think it's good cardio. It helps you build that aerobic base very well. And it's actually a good little leg workout too. I saw the most definition in my legs ever during my Ironman prep. I mean, yeah, I lost a little bit of weight because I was doing so much training, but also my legs stayed pretty lean throughout the whole experience. But yeah, the journey is just so much sweeter when you take the time to appreciate not just the big things, but the little things as well. Each and every step of the process of the journey, and it just makes everything that much more enjoyable. So, completing an Ironman, it was an incredible experience and achievement to me personally. It's a testament to hard work, dedication, and perseverance. I hope my experiences can inspire you to chase your goals, no matter how big or how small they may be. So, with that being said, what's your next challenge going to be? How are you going to push yourself in the future? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe. I appreciate it. And if you want to hear about my bodybuilding journey and the lessons that I learned from it, go ahead and click this video right here.